just so you know. Can you hear us still? All good? There we go. Oh, we're good to go. So I'm going to introduce you now. David, thank you very much for being here. Founder of Helix, and once again, Fusion, powered by Avalanche, a new paradigm for blockchain economies. Over to you.
All right. Well, thanks for having me. So let me just kind of start with some observations at the beginning. So I've been in the blockchain space since 2017 now. I founded IBM Blockchain Ventures. So I had a front row seat for seeing what blockchains are good for and what blockchains are less good for. So when I was at IBM, I had a front row seat to all of the failures of enterprise blockchain networks. And the reason why they failed is because things could not happen better on-chain than they were able to happen off-chain. So that meant that for organizations large and small, it wasn't necessarily better to participate in a consortium or an industry group focused on trying to create real-world outcomes. And I think that as I moved over then to working in the industry more, my observation has been if you look at kind of token models or how blockchain ecosystems operate, they really basically focus on selling block space. And I think that that has a lot of important implications. Number one, if you think about the role of a native token, it's effectively to reward people for securing the network. So that doesn't really create any basis for people within the ecosystem to have a share economic incentive. So that's kind of one model. And then Berachain has kind of come along, and the way that they think about it is we're going to use validator rewards to basically bootstrap network effects. But that's kind of blockchain to protocol. It really doesn't solve the model by which institutions in an ecosystem collaborate to create mutual value. So this brings us to kind of closer to Fusion, but the step in between is something like BitTensor. So BitTensor, you might love it, you might hate it. The thing they've done really, really well is they have a protocol to protocol token model which incentivizes everyone within the ecosystem to have an expectation of future value. If you look at our industry, especially on the token side of things, we have an industry full of GameStop stocks. And that means it's purely speculative. Part of the reason it's speculative is because most of the people trading it are retail people. They're not institutions. The fact of the matter is most stocks on IPO, they're low float, high FDV. This is just a reality. But that's why you see predictability in terms of how assets perform when they go out into public markets, because you have a group of institutions who are effectively long on the asset. So we've got a couple problems within blockchain ecosystems. One, the native token doesn't tie together the ecosystem explicitly within an economic framework. And the second aspect we have is that because of that, we don't have a long shadow of the future with one another. And the third aspect that I talked about is block space is really not the interesting thing about blockchain ecosystems. It's how you can combine resources and economically incentivize people who are building and doing real things to create outcomes that are real and important in the real world. Which brings us to Fusion. What is Fusion? At a high level, you can think about Fusion. It's kind of like a series of vertical specific BitTensors. We call these brains of the ecosystem composers. So a composer, it could be Kite AI, which is building a decentralized AI marketplace, Life Network, which is building a decentralized science network, or Tega, which is basically creating an ecosystem of deepened computational resources. So if you think about these overarching composers, their role is basically to provide access to an ecosystem. Now, it's important because it's not access to block space. That's what's really important here. It's access to a set of service providers who can come together in support of a workflow. So those are basically the service providers in the ecosystem are called modules. So Solana has taken a very monolithic approach. Everything runs on the same chain, basically no different execution environments. We're taking the opposite approach here. We're not selling block space. We're selling the ability to provide an end user with better AI. We're selling the ability to provide an end user with a better way to conduct clinical trials by providing access to AI resources and individual data. We're providing the way for a live streaming company to automatically scale up and down deep-in resources that can be combined where and when someone needs them. So it's a fundamental shift here, I think. This is in terms of the network design and the composability, and also in terms of the economic model, because it brings all of the capabilities required to make blockchains not just better settlement layers, but better layers for actually producing business outcomes for end users. Now, I'll go a little bit through the core components of the Fusion model. And it's important to note that Fusion, we just announced it, is supported by $100 million from Avalanche. This is a community-run initiative. It's a coalition of the willing who are coming together to make the ecosystem better and to create better outcomes for end users. Because Avalanche is the place, I'm seeing it this year, I was here 2 years ago in Barcelona at the summit. This is where the real builders are coming to build. So if you think about it from an economic design, each of these vertical ecosystems or composers has its own token. And that token is very similar to kind of how BitTensor works. So it's a protocol-to-protocol token model. That's one thing that's similar with BitTensor. But the thing is that is not similar is you don't get paid for just having a pulse. You get paid for actually producing activity that's valuable for the network. So contributing data that's used in workloads, contributing compute resources that are used in workloads. So that's on the economic side of things. It's an ecosystem of economically aligned protocols. If the best protocol for perps DEX is on Solana and the RWA composer wants to bring that over, totally cool. Keep your token where you want to. Keep your protocol operations where you want to. We want the best-in-class projects in Web3 to come to provide a discrete service for the network. So this is a major advantage here. You can source the best and brightest projects from anywhere in the industry, and they're coming because it's in their economic incentive to do so. They want revenues. They want protocol growth. This is a framework by which it can happen. So that's component number one. Component number two is kind of modularity on steroids. That's how I describe this. So if you think about most modular ecosystems, it means that you can just combine things like data availability and settlement and discrete computational resources, maybe something like oracles, or economic security, something like eigenlayer. In this case, we have modularity not around accessing technical resources. We have modularity in terms of combining resources to create actual business value. So if there is a combination of resources which allows people to basically access, create new AI agents in different types of ways, all sorts of different service capabilities will exist, and those service capabilities become interoperable and usable together. And that's the third, basically, phase of, or aspect of Fusion. Fusion allows for what blockchains are really good at. It allows for the interoperability of resources, technological, financial, and identity, and otherwise. So if you look at a traditional cloud, you can really only access technological resources. If you go to your bank account and you want something like, are you trying to do something financial? You go to a bank if you want payments, if you want to be able to trade. If you're trying to establish your identity, you do that through providing your identification in different contexts. There's no current way that you can basically string together technological value, financial value, and information about people. So in this respect, if we look at the logical endgames of blockchains, they should be abstracted from the end users. The end user should come there because it produces a better outcome. And the way that we produce better outcomes is through composability of different types of resources. So this is enabled effectively by something like warp messaging within Avalanche. From a technological perspective, all of the transactions between modules and composers go through the C chain. Each of these composer network is likely to have 150 to 200 validators. So that's going to be very good for the Avalanche ecosystem. And what I think is kind of really cool about this is, as we went through technological deep dives on where this could actually be built, you basically have to have sovereign layer ones to do it. So the only place where this could actually be built is on Avalanche, which I think is pretty cool. Every ecosystem says we have this technological advantage or we have that technological advantage. In my estimation, and people who know me know I'm a very straight shooter, this is really one of the only technological advantages within the industry. So that also makes it very cool. So how does this ecosystem look in a couple of years? Well, I can tell you how I think it will look in 1 year. So each of the composers, we're going to start with 5. So that's DeSci, DePIN, AI, kind of the intersection of identity and AI, and RWAs. We'll have 20 modules. So at the end of year 1, there'll be 5 composers and 100 modules. So just think about that. There'll be all sorts of capabilities that can be combined and composed in different types of ways. And when a new composer wants to launch, there's like 100 exclamation point options on how you can combine these modules to do cool things. So we're taking, once again, advantage of the benefits of blockchain, which is composability, auditability, and basically attributing contributions. And that's basically what this network is built around. So I think that we do call this a blockchain with a brain, a new paradigm for blockchain economies, because I think it's fundamentally different from what's in the market, and it's much more sustainable, and it's what we need to actually make blockchains pervasive and used in all sorts of different contexts. So just in terms of the way this would work, as I said, each composer has an API and an SDK. If you're building a DeFi application on Solana and you want to access all of the modules running through the RWA composer, continue running on Solana, plug into the underlying modules. It's all kosher. It all works together. If you are a big bank and you want to have a KYC mechanism of basically allocating liquidity across different RWA assets that are interacting with different DeFi primitives, you can build on top of the composer. If you want to build an AI agent marketplace of services, you can build on Kite AI. If you want to build a better way of conducting clinical trials, you can run on Life Network. So I think when looking back, I'm not a hyperbolic person. I think that this already is something really different within the ecosystem. As I said, backed by a $100 million commitment from Avalanche around composers and modules and end users. And I think that Avalanche has certainly emerged for me as the ecosystem where real companies come to build real things on chain. I think that's going to further support this narrative. Going forward, as I said, this is a community initiative. We haven't taken any VC funding. I don't think we'll ever take any VC funding. This is a model for how blockchain economies should work. And I welcome any members of the community or people who want to get involved. This is very much a core contributor structure to come and do so. And I think in working together, we're going to have the opportunity to do things that are great for the industry, great for end users, and do a lot of exciting things that no one has seen before. So that's basically the high level. Super excited to announce it, and happy to take any questions or jam on any topics people want to cover.